As if being the kids of some of the biggest names in sports wasn't enough, these girls are stunning on top of all that. Trust me, you won't regret clicking on this video. Starting with Cheyenne Jackson. Jason Kidd is undoubtedly one of the biggest names in the NBA. The 10-time All-Star has had stints with both the Mavs and Nets. Plus, he's the guy on top of the Milwaukee Bucks now. But what you probably didn't know is that his daughter is doing pretty well in the looks department. But that didn't help her too much. She's been in rehab a couple of times for drug abuse, and she blames it all on her so-called deadbeat dad. We'd better move on to the next. Laura Stockton. The name Stockton probably reminds you of one of the best point guards in NBA history. John Stockton has definitely passed that passion forward. His daughter is a fantastic player, having an average of 6.7 points a game in her freshman year at college, and the blonde bombshell played for the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Yup, you got that right. It was the same college as her dad. She's definitely not just a pretty face, but she's got beauty on top of plenty of talent too. We're sure John isn't too upset about that. Now, let's move to someone who's made her mark in basketball a little differently.
Brought me in like a family, so I'm enjoying it a ton. Enjoying the weather, the beaches, all the things, but especially
Callie Rivers. Doc Rivers is still a huge part of the basketball world. As the head coach and basketball operations president for the LA Clippers, he's definitely had the chance to introduce his daughter to the NBA's best. The fact that she's completely gorgeous has only helped her, since she's been known to have relationships with Paul George, Dexter Strickland, and Kyrie Irving. If you're a Mavs fan, you might not like her, since rumor has it she's the reason DeAndre Jordan stayed with the Clippers instead of moving to Dallas. Clearly, family helps a lot, and we're about to find out just how much. Jasmine Jazz Wilkins. When you've grown up in a family full of basketball A-listers, there isn't much more you could want. But Jasmine Williams is beautiful enough to have been a former pageant queen. The fact that she's the daughter of Gerald Wilkins, a Knicks legend, doesn't hurt either. Plus, we can't forget her uncle, Dominique Wilkins, and her brother, Damian Wilkins. With that much basketball in the family, it's no wonder she chose to be a nurse instead. She's also a saxophone player, hence the nickname Jazz, and isn't too bad on the court herself. Our next name is pretty magical too, Elisa Johnson. Looks like Magic Johnson made some magic away from the court as well. They might not share genes, but he lucked out with his daughter. Elisa is Magic's foster daughter, and she's got some insane looks of her own. Those very looks led her to a crazy Instagram following of 313,000. She's also known for her fantastic style and outfits, and she's grown herself quite the brand as an influencer. On the other hand, her dad is in charge of the Lakers now, which is quite a step up from his days playing for them. Nope, we couldn't finish this list without some drama. Karlie Malone. When you hear anything about Karl Malone's kids, your first instinct is probably to wonder, which one? The ex-Jazz and Lakers forward has had some scandal brewing for years now, since he has 3 kids outside of his marriage to Kay Malone and 4 kids who actually got the all-star upbringing. One of them happens to be Carlene, who's so undeniably gorgeous that she's signed to Wilhelmina. Yes, that's the same agency that started our favorite Jenner sister off. Carly's still a little low-key, but we wouldn't count on that to be the case for much longer.
My name is Karlie Malone. I don't know why I just did this. My name is Karlie Malone, and as you guys can see, this is going to be a Q&A.
We've started off with the drama, so let's continue. Cajun Russell. Byron Russell is remembered less for his own talents on the court and more for his whole thing with Michael Jordan. If you've been a basketball fan for a bit, you'll remember how he taunted MJ, which only motivated the legend to return to basketball. But his daughter is definitely not someone to be embarrassed of. Cajun Russell has the perfect supermodel face and body, and she's been doing some modeling work here and there as well. We can't blame anyone who hires her. She's got more than enough looks for it. While we're on the topic of Michael Jordan, Jasmine Jordan. We couldn't have finished off this list without naming a Jordan kid at least once. Michael's daughter, Jasmine, is definitely a stunner, but she doesn't have the athletic passion of her dad. Most people you ask wouldn't care that she doesn't play. Her looks more than make up for it. She's not completely removed from the sport, though, since she did major in sports management at Syracuse. Jasmine's never been a fan of the spotlight, and she even said she hated the attention she got in college. But hey, who can say they have shoes named after them?
Per se, it's more so just understanding the sacrifices that he really had to make, and understanding that I was so young.
Let's talk about someone who did stay in sports, Madeline Kerr. Some NBA players really do have it all. And by all, we mean 5 NBA titles as a player, 1 as a coach, and a beautiful daughter. Madeline may not have gone for basketball, but she's a star volleyball player who's currently with the California Golden Bears. What about the girls who stuck with basketball, though? Paige Hallberg. The Bulls head coach, Fred Hallberg, has some pretty big achievements to his name. He was the fastest coach to get Iowa to 100 wins, and even got the Bulls into the playoffs. His daughter takes after him, since she works for the Kansas Jayhawks now, and even averaged double figures in every game in her first year.
Just trying to process it, but I'm growing through this mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically as well. But I think I'm going to be a much better player when I come back, and I'm just trying to use this as like a growth period.
Now, let's take it back to the Malones. Kadee Malone. When you've got 7 kids across a bunch of moms, you're definitely going to have a couple of stunners in there. And that's exactly the case with Kadee Malone. But despite her gorgeous looks, she stays pretty low-key with her social media and doesn't make a big deal of herself. Let's talk about another volleyball lady now, Randy Ewing. On top of being absolutely beautiful, Patrick Ewing's daughter also has a 6-foot-tall model build. But she's not using it for basketball as you might think. Instead, she chose volleyball too. She dreamed of going to the WNBA as a kid and later realized she just doesn't like the game that much. Next on the list, we have a confusing one, Ari. Here's why. When Ariana's pictures surfaced on the internet a while ago, people were shocked at her killer looks. But the reason she went viral is because she might be Charles Barkley's daughter. We'll never know for sure because we've all seen that insane resemblance. Plus, she deserved a spot on the list anyways. Before we announce our number 1, let's talk about someone who's killing it in another area of the sport, Abby Hornacek. Jeff Hornacek has plenty of fame of his own, but he might end up having to share it with his daughter. Abby graduated from USC as a journalist, and she's been working with Fox Sports ever since. She's even been an NBA correspondent. After all, when you look like that, people definitely want to watch. Now, it's time for the top of the list, Alexis Rodman. Dennis Rodman had quite the crazy career, but somewhere in between, he managed to raise a stunning daughter. Alexis might be a bit older than everyone else we mentioned, but she's hands down one of the prettiest. Unlike some of the others on this list, she also has a great relationship with her dad. Now, we're sure we've given you a ton of new Instagram accounts to follow. Keep watching for more just like this.